Live, and we're doing an advertisement for cocoa butter.
Cocoa butter kills everything, man.
Don't forget the shea butter now. Give the shea butter some love too, you know.
Shea butter's B-Tech, man. B-Tech.
Give love to Moroccan oil too. Makes me want to eat chocolate all day.
No, cocoa butter is the best, man. It cures dry skin, leprosy, everything, man.
Oh, okay.
It's to cure corona. Maybe that's what we need.
It hasn't been tested yet, I'm sure, but you know.
Like Donald Trump. Don't say that to Trump, man.
Don't say that to Trump.
Don't say that to Trump. He'll believe you.
He'll believe you.
Okay, we have to start. Trump ain't touching it. Trump ain't touching it no matter what it's called. Tell him.
Listen, it wouldn't be a bad thing if he accidentally died.
No,
I know. Too far. I know.
Well,
I'm from Ireland. We joke at funerals.
Oof. Okay, let's
Welcome
start.
to BYOB.
Yeah, okay. Welcome from cocoa butter to Trump. Keeping it real. So welcome to BYOB today. It's a pleasure to have everyone here. We have approximately 10 people, 12 on the open mic right now. And every other person that's watching on Facebook, on Twitch, on YouTube, and where else do people watch stuff like this that I don't know yet? I'm
probably going to put it up on Instagram as well, just so people can see.
All right, cool. And on Instagram also. So today we have Riwa Saab as our headliner. And yes, we'll get to chat with her and we'll chat with everybody briefly as we go on. Yeah, so we're here for poetry and just for everyone to share their heart and the beautiful colors that we can see from everybody. And I hope you all enjoy it. We'll start with me reading a poem, you know, and then we would move on to our next poet. So here we go. I want you to write a poem for me, a beautiful one, colorful. This poem should feel like your heart tripped and fell in a paint factory and your fingers bleed rainbows and your yawn seems like the freedom of a kaleidoscope. I want this poem to make me breathe, to toss me up like a generous trampoline and to hold me high like a struggle between dreaming and gravity and to let me fall like the feather that escaped a bird mid-flight. I want your poem to feel like I am being held and your open palms clasped on my waiting back rubs back and forth till my heart finds its natural rhythm. I want this poem to feel like the first and second and 27th time I saw your smile. Like I now know the meaning of happy, of you. I want this poem to sing in your voice and breathe and touch. Yes, a poem that is you. Thank you. Mike's on muted. Gracias. So the first poet we have is Rohan. Yes, yep. It is Rohan. So yes, let's do that.
That's me. Thank you very much.
Take it away.
I'm just gonna let everyone know this poem is a tribute to George Floyd. So I'm gonna go straight in. It's called Kneel. You have the right to remain silent. Because your words are powerful and can be used as more than a means of expression, you have a right to remain silent. Because your words, if used correctly, can spin evil from those in power. They will strip your rights from you during arrest. Even arresting duress is not applicable if you have too much sun in your system. As you have burnt your rights when you acquired melanin. So never mind your business. Their business is to enact what your mother told you in times of play. I brought you into this world so I can take you out of this world. And the law does not want to uphold you anymore. Boys in blue showing they are colorless. Every black man's height is 6 feet. A subtle skin tone that's not good enough to walk the streets, but good enough to be dormant under someone's knee, good enough for the chokehold, grappled, get down to the ground, because that wallet is a weapon, and the baritones in your voice under the pressure of white privileges making the police feel nervous. Different circumstances breed different intentions in their 21-gun salute. Every shot that rings makes us a memory or a meme, and I wonder what you're going to view first. Everyone wants to speak after the matter, quick to hop kins like Katie and cause a social storm. But during the matter, you only see brutality on camera. At the bottom, they're screaming, stop the violence, but at the top, are they willing to stop the violence? History has shown that Black people have made examples of technological breakthrough in each era, yet we're being made an example of. Why does another soul have to be lifted through the bondage of our body? Allow Black to be viewed with extreme caution, that our rights to be human is being taken away. Human rights is not a choice, no matter what Kanye says. You persecuted the knee that Kaepernick nailed with, yet this white man's knee was really causing the hurt. So the pressure that was exalted onto George had him needing support from those around. Camera footage showed the accounts held when it's humans that have the rights to make sure that their actions are right. So I don't care what camera held the accounts. It's this officer that has to be held accountable. Play role reversal and see the media stream to red with hatred if a Black man killed a white person out of racial hatred. Oh wait, that actually happened. Mohammed Noor was given 12.5 years for accidentally shooting a white woman. His Minnesota Police Department said he should not have acted out of fear. He should have better assessed the situation. So what would it take for the ears above to listen? Another million man march for the million died. Do we have to walk a road like Forrest Gump before you see the wrongs doing that are being set? How many more of us are going to be put into the dirt and displayed on t-shirts? How many more of us are going to have songs portrayed about us that we can't join in singing? How many more of us will become sub-martyrs for a subconscious cause called Black? How many more of us will be buried too early because our life is nothing but a pawn as life is released from our chest? But you see, they want to talk about looting to take the focus away from the main crime. It's another protest to my protest because Black Lives Matter only seems to matter after the Black man dies. Togetherness does not come in posts and memes. It comes in action. That means movement within the times, which means move within your means. So hopefully solidarity will come when both ethnicities start to see that melanin should not equal the rights to live. Instead, we should equal rights where we live. Stolen civilizations bought for labor. So whether it's Democrats or Republicans, conservatives or labor, we should not be labeled as mathematical terms. Statistical pleasures in a numbers game, meaning less than. Well, my views are more than, and I don't need cryptic clues from my brothers and sisters. I am not Malcolm X over Y. Someone gets to the ground, we decide to stand up. Someone gets knocked down, we decide to stand up. Someone gets gunned down, we decide to stand up. Instead of flipping to hashtags, flip your mindset to whenever we stand up with us. Whenever we rise up with us. Whenever we band together with us, and show the racial hatred and systematic fortitude that we will fight your attitude no matter how many angels are being called back. The time for peaceful protest has been dispatched, and there's no one on the other end of the radio. So instead of over and out, it's just over. Then out comes modern day versions of pitchforks and fires, because that was also a legal process back in the day. So the statement, I can't breathe, I can't breathe, I can't breathe, will no longer be held amongst one's breath. I will let every inch of my lungs expand past its limits and breathe out every cry that was snatched from every life that was captured for every moment that was suppressed by every contract that was signed in society's blood over the backs of the ethnics who stay silent. Don't think that the time that passed between deaths means that it's a time of peace and silence. Or you thought it was done. Can Ferguson tell you the same thing? No matter how much passive I emit till I become aggressive, no matter what I'ma do, Diallo will always be seen to them as Diablo. Send 2 roses for Antoine Rose II. You're not forgotten. Neither are you, Tamir Rice. Because it seems Mike Brown complexion complicates society's simplicity cocooned in white supremacy. And whether it's TV screens or newspaper prints, we like Sarah read and absorb information with free will, displace our distaste at the fact that we've lost a part of our smiley culture. Let me breathe. That's what should have happened to Eric Garner. And again, life was not supported when they failed to give Eric reason. So when we turned up for Pamela Turner, it just turned out that apparently your rights is something we have to prove. Fight for Black, no matter your position, spine. Blacks have been holding the L between our backs, and it took darkness to descend to the ground for the world to believe in Mrs. Floyd's son rise. So the life of Black men only seems to be relevant through the lines of a hashtag, which means that my life only seems to be relevant unless it's being hashtagged. And then you perpetrate that all lives matter except for the Black colored man, yet the color Black is made through all colors. You see, Black Lives Matter. Move forward this movement. It's meant to move people forward in unison until Black lives become less of a slave cuffed fact and becomes an everyone's way of life. Don't be mad that you don't have a movement. Just be happy you don't need one. That's me.
Jeez.
Whoa, that's good. That was, yeah.
Smash it again, bro. Smash it again.
That was good. That was like, yeah, there's just so much in that poem. I mean, the whole point of names not mattering until it has a hashtag in front of it. That's early scary and and factual. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Our next poet is Madalena. She's here and she's gonna do her thing.
Hey, hi everyone, can you hear me? All good, thank you. I'm gonna do a piece tonight. It's called Eye for an Eye. And I just want to tell everyone that this is not a call to violence. This is basically a call to use our voices to save a life, basically, and just spread the word that Black Lives Matter. And this is a movement that won't go. So I'll just go ahead. Fuck the police. I am done being polite. This shit is murder. It just ain't right. To see a man beg for his life with dying breath, and on that cop's forehead, not a drop of sweat. He crushed George's life, and with it our hope. His privilege means he gets to tie around next rope. How can we ever trust their authority when they're killing one by one the minority? We must remember, this is not black versus white, but us versus them, and together we'll fight. The time for apologies has long passed. This is not the first murder, but shall be the last. Do not back down, they want us to fear. Use your mind as a bullet and tongue as a spear. Speak up for all the voices they drowned. Minneapolis now, next might be your town. Or mine. This time, silent might cost us our lives. It's an eye for an eye, not a homestay with the wives. George never got to see his family again. So yes, I want all them cops to feel the pain. They thought they were gods, had full power. Don't dare run or try to cower. We will get justice, one by one. Your time is almost done. So that's me.
Thank you very much for that. I like what really fascinates me about the current state of things is how everyone everywhere sort of, apart from the solidarity you have with the Black community, is the way we're seeing change that we need to institute in our local communities. And I think that's one of the most important things. It's everyone is being lifted together. And I like the fact that a lot of the core of the Black Lives Matter movement is they keep saying that they're not looking for vengeance, but they're looking for equality. And we're not looking for vengeance, we're looking for equality, and we're looking for, just human rights. And sometimes when we say basic human rights, it sounds like we're saying simple human rights, but it's not simple. It is something that a civilization has actually come quite far in trying to institute. And but thanks for that poem. That's really nice.
For having me, guys. It's a pleasure to do.
Oh man, we'd love you to come back again.
Forward to everyone else.
So our next poet is a regular, is the Lantern Carrier.
Thank you, bro. Tugging at sunsets upon the horizon. Poison at the end of the food chain is very rarely its source. Lightning strikes with blinding speed, yet the bun tree knows that it came from above the clouds. The tyranny of oppression is not new, but an enemy of man, sweeping down the path of centuries. When a dying man says, "I can't breathe," it is really a complex and repeated echo, a poignant and tragic one indeed, leaving the heavy stain of grief, sighing on the living breath of countless souls. Dying from the heartlessness of another reawakens a cry of longing for equality and justice by the oppressed, who seemingly won the battle against the brutality of slavery, only to fight another war for survival. The very presence of excessive greed defines by nature unjust elements in a society which is either duplicitous, complacent, essentially evil, or indifferent. There is an ingrained history of abuse of power, guilt, discomfort, insecurity, and mistrust. Like all chronic afflictions, the remedy is painfully slow, and the wheels of pain keep spinning in ghettos. As such, social disparity prevails, together with hunger and deprivation, breeding strife in the hearts of the dispossessed, their wails running red all the way back to their ancestral homes. A wise man once said, the best remedy for the soul is love. But what if it doesn't work, said the skeptic. Then increase the dose, the seer replied. One needs new knobs when a tap is broken, just as the hungry need skills and know-how in order to help themselves. Handouts by nature will only increase more hunger when another famine strikes. Oh man, teach me to toil, to nurture my own resources. Each heinous crime diminishes me, weakens the spirit of a community which inherently wish to live peacefully side by side, but is instead forced to address the causes and ravages of disorder. So while the light of the firefly is no match for the stunning effects of moonlight, even a candle can light up the sky. My eyes are not as powerful as the sun, yet they see colossal things. Like moths, some rush to the seeming light, which is none other than darkness. Callousness reigns in many hearts. The dead blames the one that are dying. The cry of its soul longs for freedom, tugging at sunset upon the dawn, tugging at sunrise upon the dawn, and sunsets on the horizon. Meanwhile, confusion reigns in the light of day, while we weep in the shadows, striving to love against the background of pain and complacency. Thank you. The Lantern Carrier.
Oh man, thanks for that. I like that the way you said that the best remedy for the heart for life is love, and then the skeptic asks if that what if it doesn't work, and it says increase the dose. That is
indeed.
Yeah, that's powerful. Yeah, thanks. Oh man,
thank you. Your sense of observation is very good.
Okay. So next person we have is Diliana. Yes. Hello. You're here a moment ago. Hola.
Hello.
Hola.
I don't speak a lot of Spanish, but hola. ¿Cómo estás? I hope you can hear me. I'm seeing some thumbs. Thank you very much. Hello from Helsinki, where the sun has not really set just yet. Thank you very much for having me again. It's really wonderful to be here. And I wasn't really sure what I was going to do, but I think I'm going to read the first poem that I thought about when I was thinking about today. It's called Pedestals. And it goes like this. The pedestals in my chest stand empty. They used to bear the weight of perfection and truth so old, truths be told, and truth so cold, so cold. The pedestals in my chest stand empty, and my body is not a temple anymore because the gods fell. And I wish I could tell you that I smashed those idols and statues with a baseball bat with force, or struck them down with a bow and arrow, or that I screamed them clean with righteous anger, that I took them with my fists and fingernails in rage of power, fierce. But that is not true. I just let the tears rise and flood me. Sorry. I took the hand off the mouth of the child chained deep in the dungeons of my mind, and I let her weep. And there are no gods, marble or flesh or otherwise, that can stand in the way of a wave of grief that young. That flood took down the marble images I worshipped, my parents. The perfect man I tried to convince I was good enough to love. The cool people I wanted to be friends with, the job and hobby I thought would make me happy and well endowed, the woman that I thought I would live to be, perfect daughter, perfect wife, perfect mother, perfect lawyer, perfect artist, if I could ever twist and file and burn and cut and chisel myself into her image. In the Bible, it says God made it rain for 40 days and 40 nights to cleanse the earth of sins. But 40 days and 40 nights of tears is a drop. when we have burned and cut a temple in the chest of every girl, a temple of the good girl, forced her to kneel in the middle and told her that she is not good enough to be loved and accepted, until she laid money and her servitude at the feet of her parents, sex and servitude at the feet of her partners, beauty and smiles and youth and the blood of her servitude at the feet of the whole world, until she bleeds out in the middle of that temple, giving birth to the sins that will eat their way into the chests of her daughters. The pieces of the gods crunch beneath my feet and pierce my soul. There is a wind breathing ashes of burned up sadness through that pantheon. The pedestals in my chest stand empty. And now you bear witness to me. Thank you.
Oh man.
Thank you for sharing that one again. It's
Wow.
amazing.
Oh, okay. Thank you for sharing that. That is, I could, it was very clear that came from some things that happened. And thank you for being so vulnerable with us. The imagery in that was, it gave this kind of life to it, that even how we concluded, we could feel just standing there with you and seeing all that transpired. Yeah. And yeah, thanks for sharing that. And I honestly pray that just with family and with people around here, just whatever healing has been working on would continue to grow in you. Yeah, thanks. So next we have Amy McAllister.
Hi.
Do your thing.
Okay, I'm going to do two real shorties today. This first one's kind of about privilege and kind of about bystanders. I can't stand bystanders. This is called Violin. The opposite of a violin is a crack pipe. The opposite of sushi in your lunchbox is a bag of Monster Munch or nothing. The opposite of books on shelves is impetigo. The opposite of milk at bedtime is a little rucksack in the wardrobe, always packed. The opposite of self-esteem is running. The opposite of knowing it is singing loudly with your fingers in your ears. The opposite of lefty newspapers is hate and tits at breakfast. The opposite of wine and cheese is no one listening to you. The opposite of phoning up is doing nothing. The opposite of helping is disgusting. The opposite of taking me to your house is a coward. So that's that one. And then just because I feel like it's so important to keep talking about everything that we are talking about, but I'm noticing little moments of light that I really personally really need right now, and I'm sure everyone's having those. So this is a tribute to my shop man. You've got to know now what I'm in for. You are aware that I am holding the exact change in a tired fist. You let me skip the oldies, browsing through the vegetables I cannot name. Familiar shapes in unexpected colours not available at Aldi. You nod. You understand that I might not make eye contact, that I have very little left to give, that I will drop the coin into your open palm from quite the risky distance, that I don't think you're dirty, that I am just trying to do right by society, that I am only after Pepsi Max 2 for £1, that I am not okay, that Pepsi Max is what I use to power through another day. You are kind, in spite of my outdoor pajama get-ups, my unfuckability, unlike most men under the age of 30, expecting absolutely nothing of me. Just my money and the thank you I am always sure to muster, Mr. Shopman, Mr. Gentle son of Shopman, who I haven't seen in weeks. Did he get sick? 3 ambulances every day to our short street. The paramedics go in running, come out heavy-footed, haunted and exhausted. Do I wear that look? I haven't slept since February for the greater good. The parks down south are heaving, 50 people crowding round a picnic table, leaders being cunts while I refuse to risk a man and van, refuse to be the reason that another ambulance rolls in. But I am able to continue because you give me my Pepsi Maxes and you don't make small talk or make me feel guilty when I'm less than friendly. You just nod and give and take and make another sleepless week a little less impossible. There you go. That's me.
Love you, Amy.
Love that. I love that, having that kind of, it's a kind of relationship you have with people who you don't really speak to. It's like, I know you exist, you know I exist, and we are happy about that, just being us at that point.
I think he'd totally freaked out if he knew I'd written a poem about him.
I think I once wrote a poem about a barista at a coffee shop in Nottingham, because it was the same thing. Just, you see the person, you're like, if you see the person somewhere else, you are like, what are you doing here? It's like, you're not.
You have a life. Yeah.
Like, exactly. Thank you for that.
Thanks. And right. Marty as well, just to say.
Yeah. Next is Miles. Yes, we got Miles coming up.
Hello. Hi, yeah. First time on BYOB. So, you know, very excited to be here. Hopefully when all of this stuff is gone back to normal, I'll actually have to come down in real life. Yeah, I'll get straight to it. This one is called Celebrate. Growing up, I was often left to myself. I had little encouragement, so used stories to guard my mental health, but they could only teach so much, and they made me lose touch with reality and disconnect from the people around me. So what I want to share with you and others made from such a mold is what you must find within yourself and cannot wait to be told, to better cope with the silence that echoes. Now, I can't speak too plainly. That wouldn't do much good. You weren't lucky enough to have mentors and advisors, so a stranger such as I will not do. But perhaps if I speak in verse, your defenses will give way, like a coded message held to a mirror. Once read in reverse, it will sound okay. 3 poems are all I want to share. It's up to you if it's worth your time or a rude interruption to the silence you hear. Number 1, no recognition. There'll be no recognition when you achieve wonderful things. No music, fanfare, or medals given. Your fruits will be plucked with no mind paid to the flower. But flowers exist to be picked. They can handle attention and the shine without needing the bees to adore them each time. If they can, so you too will be fine. So continue being beautiful. Enjoy your own thoughts like a musical and revel in the soil of your soul. Number 2, no fall from grace. Yet what can sometimes be the worst, as strange as it is to say, is not when without praise, but when others ignore your fall from grace. As you live your life as best you can, you'll have moments where you're self-centered, selfish, cruel, and unkind. Yet you won't receive the judgment you deserve. Either too much blame or undue forgiveness will not provide the healing that you yearn. But don't fret or worry about the fairness of your lot. You're strong enough to own the times that you mess up. You're not perfect and your judgment isn't foolproof, but you can learn from the bad that you do. Mistakes will teach lessons and make a better you. Number 3, no redemption. Lesson learned. Well done, good job. The thing you did to hurt those you love is no longer a problem since it is something you have overcome. Yet as you return to Pride Rock to retake your throne, animals won't be celebrating your return home. The prodigal son had a banquet. You'll have leftovers, long since turned cold. Yes, I know it sounds like it sucks. I know it's not the reception that the story said would come. But sometimes the stories are wrong. What story said that you would come? Yet here you are still. Stories will be shared about the things you have achieved, whether idle chat of poems or oral history, but not today and maybe never during your days. Dreams, after all, are for sleep. These 3 poems I've shared come from the heart, so I hope that rings clearly whether you agree with me or not. That without encouragement, you must learn to celebrate yourself, to praise yourself, blame yourself, and appraise yourself. I pray it strengthens your legs and doesn't harden your heart. Stop expecting to receive and love and hate. Stop fearing failure and stop trying to escape. Instead, learn to celebrate. Yes, celebrate. Then when you're fortunate enough to meet people you relate to, ears used to silence will quiver without distraint, ready as you will be to participate. Thank you very much. That's me.
I like how uplifting the poem was. There's a line where you said, "Revel in the soil of your soul," and I like the fact that it says it's not like you have to seek what you're going to revel in. It's already there in you, and you just have to find it within yourself. Thanks, man. That's cool.
Yeah, appreciate that. Thank you very much. That's very much where it comes from. And I think right now there's so much bleakness around us. We've got to remember that.
Yeah.
There's so much inside ourselves that is beautiful and that we can gain strength from too. So yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah. You're welcome, man. Please come around again. It would be nice to have you on the live show. Yeah. Next is Angela. So, why did I say your name like that? Angela, you're next. Do your thing.
Damn. I hope my phone doesn't die. I was just charged up. Okay. Anyway. Cool. So thank you so much for having me again. So nice to be back. I love you all. I love seeing familiar faces. And so yeah, here's my poem for today. I'm going to close the window just in case. Let the air in. It got so awfully stuffy and damp in my room. Are you here? Say something nice then. I'm giving you my best self. I'm all smiles and jokes, red lips, white shirt, tart perfume. Look at me navigating it all so well. Am I not a good student? Aren't you proud of me just a bit as I sit and I talk about work or some shit, showing off my wit and grit as if we never quit? So I hid my hands, fingers crossed in my pocket, so you could never tell. Smoke and mirrors, words upon words upon words upon words. How many metaphors does it take to get the message across? Or is my poetry simply self-obsession or bloodletting or an act of redemption? Am I simply seeking attention or craving human connection? You know to your own cost that each verse is a precise vivisection of every inch that is me, my thoughts, my faults, my crimes, and chimes. But your presence is my own sort of morphine injection. So I'm gonna let it slide, just for now. Let me talk to you, let's just talk. How are things? Oh, well, it doesn't sound too bad. You see, my only problem is that for once I want to feel brand new, not merely secondhand. And as I understand, you've told these stories many a time to many an ear, but I want to hear the things that don't automatically show on demand. I've been feeling so lonely lately, so out of place. And I chase, but this race leaves me nothing but hurting and weak. But then I see the way you look at me when it's my turn to speak. And I exist. I matter. I am unique. I'm pathetic to have given you all this power to perform this magic trick. Yes, perhaps with me, it's never a matter of either or. I'll take it all and will always want more, and I need my fix, that's what I'm here for. So indulge me with a conversation, let it seep to my very core. And I've seen this happen to me too many times before, seeking shelter in people who fail to make me feel secure. Yet we're here, so let me wrap myself up in your beaming, because I'm only a human being, human dreaming, human healing, human feeling, and human believing, reaching out. Breathing in, breathing out. You were saying? Sorry, yeah, sure, we'll take the split. I think I'm doing much better. Aren't you proud of me? Just a bit. That's it. Thank you very much.
That's cool. I like the fact that the poem looks at how you continuously allow yourself to be vulnerable with someone, and I know at some certain point you talked about it being like you don't know why you let yourself come back to this position, but I think anyone who has gone through any kind of heartbreak usually, whenever they're about to fall for someone else again, they'll realize I'm about to go stupid again, and then you just plunge into it, and sometimes it feels really good. But thanks for sharing that.
Thank you.
Next, we have Hazel. I have not heard Hazel before, so take it away, Hazel.
It's Hazel.
Hazel. My bad, dog. Hazel.
Hazel, I can hear you, even though technically you're not on mute. Can anyone else hear her?
No, I can't hear her.
Weird.
All right, Hazel, do you want a minute for you to fix it? We can go to Richard and come back to you.
Yeah, if that's okay. I might need to lock. Yeah. Yeah.
We can hear you now.
Oh, you can hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Does that mean I start? Okay. Yeah. So it's Hazel or Haz, whichever is easier. This piece is called Tragedy. I didn't write it specifically for everything that's happening at the moment. I wrote it because of my daughter unfortunately experiencing racism much earlier than I was expecting her to have to. Yeah, this is tragedy. Where are the roots in race? A word unwittingly so rooted in hate that a mere act of apparent kindness unknowingly seals the fate of those not supremely white to be lesser faces, to be less worthy of a home and all its spaces. Trying to locate the right shade of beige for the title British, hoping this inherent racism is just a phase as my daughter casually accepts that England isn't a place which accepts her as its own. Disowned. Trying to figure out where she's from because Kashmir is a home she's never known. Cyprus just a holiday destination. But despite the Queen's English tipping her tongue, England being her home from the minute I crowned, the hospital she was born in South London found, she is told she is too brown. Too brown. Too brown, she is told she is too brown, and such is the innocence of a child that rather than allow a frown to grace her face, she smiles and is thankful for the friends she has from here who have said that they don't care if she isn't. Underlying racism is always present. Tragedy isn't just found in violent protests on the streets. Tragedy isn't just found when asylum seekers capsize at sea. Tragedy isn't just found when those seeking refuge are locked away in detention centres. And tragedy isn't just found in the mouths of hate preachers outside courts or in town centres. Tragedy isn't just found in council curbs. Tragedy isn't just found in the empty bellies of children with families who are down on their luck. Tragedy isn't just found in misinformation spread by mass media, and tragedy isn't just found in hate-fueled mass hysteria. Tragedy isn't just found on the sides of buses screaming that we don't belong. Tragedy isn't just found when diluting your culture is seen as wrong. Tragedy isn't just found on the disapproving faces of parents when we bring a black boyfriend home. And tragedy isn't just found in white on coloured racism alone. It breeds. Whatever shade your face is, I can almost guarantee that at some point tragedy and hate has held it. Admit it. When our white friends used to play out past dark, growing resentment at our parents who wouldn't let us play that part. Preaching love and understanding for anyone trans or gay whilst reassuring your mates that your kid could never be that way. Voting Conservative because you don't believe in handouts. Shaking your head at every man sat on a street corner asking for help with his handout. Preaching that it's only fair that one day this free healthcare runs out, but you round up by 25p the amount you pay for your burger at McDonald's in the name of charity. Pushing for a points-based immigration system like deserving better can be turned into a game. Where is your shame? Don't tell me that just because you have been discriminated against, you aren't discriminating against anything you don't consider virtue. Living in a world where liberty really is just a statue, in a world with nations which still stone individuals for not conforming sexuality, race, gender, faith lost in a system in which conformity reigns more powerfully than the monarchy which colonized the world. Do not tell me equality is key when it has been thrown in the face of my little girl. British, born and bred, we are in no way past the years of being shouted packy at or having kebabs thrown at our heads. We're searching for peace in pieces of a confused culture which doesn't understand that love is found when mixed and spread. Purity cannot be found in blood or in the thoughts in your head. Open your hearts. Make today the start. Be the change, stand up and take part. Take ownership for the mistakes you have made and the ability you have to change the future. Do it for her, for our innocent daughter. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Man, that must have...
The world
powerful,
shift.
powerful.
Yeah, that must have been hard to write, hard to read.
It was like, sometimes with my poetry, like I'll write a bit and then come back to it 3 months later and keep doing that. with this, like, I was like, sorry for my language, but I was really fucking angry. My daughter didn't think she was British because she was brown. How that works, I don't know. And yeah, so I wrote it in 2 minutes, cry, you know, the whole scream cry thing that you do. I was doing that in my car. Yeah, and like, just one thing that I would really like to push, like, apologies for going over the 3.5 minutes, is like, knowledge is the key thing. Like, I am ashamed to admit that, like, years and years ago, I didn't really understand the whole Black Lives Matter movement and sort of why all lives matter was, you know, a negative response to that and the true implication of what that meant. But like, sort of, I was lucky enough to have people really choose to educate me and sort of open my mind to that. And a lot of people choose to ignore racism in its everyday form. And like, hopefully, you know, my daughter's generation and all the generations after that aren't going to see people based on skin color, and like, underlying oppression isn't going to be an issue. So yeah, that's kind of the hope.
I think it's really important what you just did, because I think we're living in a culture really recently where, like, you can't say that you didn't know everything all the time. You have to have been, like, no matter how you were raised, like, you have to pretend you knew all along and were woke all along. And I think, like, like what you just did is awesome, because we have to be allowed to say, I'm an idiot, I don't know, or like, I'm learning. Like, I was raised by racists, and every year I'm better at knowing the world myself, my way. But like, to be able to talk about what you don't know is the only way to learn and figure out what to know. And I think it's so easy to get cancelled in this world now, that we have to like fight for the grey area and fight to talk in the grey area and be wrong. And
I didn't consider myself racist. I never have considered myself racist. I always thought, you know, I'm not English. I come from various cultures. Like, I like to try and educate myself as much as possible. Like, I can't be racist. And through being educated about why, you know, Black Lives Matter is such an important movement. You know, it's not that all lives don't matter, but sort of through being educated on that, I've learned that it's not enough to not be racist. Anti-racism is such a big thing, and like, I'm hoping that over time, Black Lives Matter isn't going to have to be such of a focal point, because Black lives are going to matter as much as all the other lives, and that at that point, anti-racism across the board is going to be the focal point. But like, right now, like, Black Lives Matter is a massive thing to push, and like, I am quite happy and proud of myself that I allowed myself to accept that education, because ignorance is only ignorance for as long as you allow it to be.
100%.
True.
Speak
True.
Joe. Hey, I was trying to be real quiet. I got my kids sleeping, man. I was trying to be real quiet. Oh my lord.
That was a proper speech, wasn't it?
That was another poem right there.
Okay. So we will be we're coming towards the end. We have Richard now, and then Corinne later on. So yeah, Richard, do your thing.
Cool. Can you hear me? Everybody hear me?
Oh, good, yeah.
Great. All right. I guess I'll get into it. All right. Call myself an evolving artist. The hardest part about doing this is always maintaining relevance when you want to say, to hell with this, when they ain't filling your messages. And these days, my work mostly consists of vestiges of restfulness as far as the eye can see. The rest, a compendium of crippling cries late in the night, but it's okay. I always fight despite the polar vortex in my chest, so most days I don't feel anything. It's poetry, my self-prescribed amphetamine, the only thing keeping me alive, not to be confused with a way to survive, because survival implies victory. Call my history an agony anthology orchestrated by monstrosity, master of my cerebrum, echoing, you don't need them, but always has a reason to set this temple ablaze. On dark days, in many ways, these words are more potent than any antidepressant. When I'm stressing, scratching, scraping, aching for my next hit, like maybe just one more metaphor for, or maybe just a little more until I'm hooked on phonics and chronic, a revolutionary tonic, if you'll allow me to be honest. See, this ain't a game. Sometimes I need it for a payday, but I don't do this here for play. Spit shit so legitimate. I wonder if you can handle it with care, because I'm fragile, a shattered porcelain projection bound by sheer force of will. I need this to live. I ain't in it for the thrills, because this mind, it kills, fills, and instills me with rage, with a yearning for self-destruction until I can no longer function. So when I spend too much time trying to impress other poets, I succumb to the Stoic, but you'd never even know it. See, I mastered my emotions when I was 10 years old, made who I am by a mountain of misery mistaken for Molehill, but poetry is the remedy hindering the end of me. But if you look me in the eye, this me you will never see in reality. This poetry is a warm hug from my mama, wishing it could dissolve all my problems. This poetry is the first time I ever felt loved, the only time I feel like I'm worth a damn, though I doubt you'll ever understand my pain. So I give you this poem. Call it a poet's last stand, hoping someone will hear it and see me for who I really am, the ever-evolving artist, the junkie, the monster, merely trying to outlive his demons. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay, all right, cool. Like we can pick this poem, and just each person takes one line and just starts, having this exegesis on it, or just studying it for or something. But I love the line where you say poetry is a warm hug from my mama. Oh man,
there was something I heard which really resonated with me. Sorry if I'm paraphrasing, but poetry is my amphetamine. I think,
yep,
it's my self-prescribed amphetamine.
Yes, like
100%, man. Bro, put that in the education system and let's go. Come on,
man, that's cool. Like, thank you for that.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You should come along again. This has been good.
Definitely.
So we will go with Corinne Latoya now. Yep.
Hey, beautiful beings. How are you? This is the point where everyone unmutes and tell me how they are.
Good. Good. Good to see you.
I'm uplifted. You're uplifted.
I'm good.
Yeah, boosted.
Good to see you, Corinne.
Thank you. I hope everyone's been well. Your day's been good so far. Day's done, but you move. All right, so I've got a piece called All Queen Facts. But yeah, thanks for having me, man. This is like my first time being on BYOB live. It's ridiculous. I should have been here before. So yeah, this piece is called All Queen Facts. 1. I've always heard fellow females say they prefer having male friends because men aren't as bitchy as women. 2. She looks her up and down, sizing her up for flaws, eyes going down as she sees her below. 3. She loves that you are single until she finds a man she tells you that you need one too. 4. She manipulates situations until their child is no longer his, controlling the narrative of her child's psychological damages. 5. So mad at the world, she fosters pain in her breeding ground for destruction. Her vendetta isn't against one, she hates us all. 6. She was loved a little too much. She was told she was too ugly. She was always the outcast. 7. I did it too. Shut other women out, but I wish to do better. Better because she only sells seashells as she tries to put herself together. She, like Humpty Dumpty, fell, but no one considered her. She and Cinderella have similar stories, but she's been forgotten, for she didn't get the prince in the end. 8. It's time we put an end to this. How can we be seen as queens when we use our crowns to pierce our sisters' hearts? We, with different stories, all would like to be loved, all would like to raise strong kings and queens, but our hearts are weak. With no correct motivation and no real rule for chess, we decide to play drafts. Unscrabbling tiles, we are ticking time bombs. 9. If 9 represents completion, we need to reevaluate our past moves so we can restart to work on a better tomorrow. My table is not open if my heart is closed. An open table with a crooked queen at the head is a recipe for disaster. So let's try again. 1. Let us seek friends in fellow women. Be open to them. There will be a queen who is fitting for you. 2. When you look her up and down, compliment her from her crown to her soul, she needs it. 3. Be the queen who remains supportive and is still there for your girlfriends even after you get a man. 4. Do not stop your child seeing their father. Do not get in the way of their relationship. Support the bond between them. Do not, so long as your child is in no danger. 5. Do not hold on to pain. It makes you rigid. Let it out so you can grow without poison surging through your veins. 6. Understand love in its purest form. You are beautiful. And around this table, you are no outcast. 7. I will work on myself. I'll stop shutting other women out. I'll stop speaking badly about other women. 8. I'm ready to call it quits, sis. I want you to win. I'm here for the win. And 9. This impure cycle will come to an end. This is just the start for us to begin again. My table will always be open, ready for women to come together and heal, ready for us to plan a takeover, ready for us to grow, ready for us to work on fixing our crowns. This is just the start for us to begin again. And that's it, guys. Thank you for having me.
Loves that.
Loved it.
We're over here stealing the show as well.
I'm not stealing anything. Jeez.
A hit.
Exactly.
A hit. Like,
you're not stealing, it's yours to be taken.
Hey, this is what I like.
I mean, I just think every morning everyone should wake up and listen to one of your poems and one of Richard's poems, and then you get on your day because, you know, I mean, thanks, man. That was, oof. The line where you said on the roundest table, you are no outcast. That, that is. It's just when you now think about something like King Arthur's table, you know, and it was round, it had 12 knights on it, and all those things. But the fact that the table was round, and I just understand how clear that idea or that the point is. On around this table, you are no outcast. It's like I should make my tables round. Do you understand? It's not just me going to a round table, but me making my tip. Thanks, man. That was good. Thanks.
Before I do disappear, this is me now stealing the show. Just a quick thing. So for everyone who doesn't know, like I've written 2 books already, and one of them is going to be 5 in 3 days' time.
Ooh. So congrats!
It's about
I'll get my copy. Congratulations.
And what if you guys are interested, I'm going to just put my details in the chat and everything.
Yes, please put it.
Great.
And then I will give you the PayPal options and the PayPal details as well as the cost. Because
Soft-spoken has it.
Have mine here. Soft-spoken.
So as well as that,
it's delivery that fast,
at a discounted cost if you get both of them together. So yeah, I'll put my details in, and that's me stealing the show.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone.
For having me, man.
It's been amazing having you all here. So we're going to go. Wait, Abdullah, what a deal.
Hi.
Hello? No, soft-spoken.
Okay. Oh, is it me? Is it me?
Yeah.
Oh, mad. Okay. All right, cool. No pressure then. And I knew this was coming as well, so whatever. I should be a bit more prepared. Right. So this is in Palermo in Italy. So this is a refugee boat. It was rescued in the sea. Unfortunately, there were no survivors when they caught it. What they did find next to it, there were a whole lot of artifacts like teddy bears and glasses and all that kind of stuff, which were lost by refugees who died on the journey there. However, what you can see there are cutouts of refugees who did actually make it in the end. And so this poem is dedicated to them. Once I can open my internet. All right, here we go. Imagine You're Syrian or maybe African, maybe Mesopotamian, soon to be an alien on the rough terrain towards the Mediterranean. Your mission? To reach what used to be Arabian, and the only thing between you and freedom is what's accumulatively killed millions. And at your destination, how's that again? And at your destination, the natives are called Sicilian, but the idea is for you to seek refuge with your cousins in Michigan. Failing that, you will settle for Britain and live with your sister in Birmingham, but all you want is peace and dignity for your children. So you claim your position in this new normal mere mortal, where the ones that drowned end up at a new portal and immortalized in the Atlantis of our collective consciousness. Anonymous are the victims seeking the promised metropolis, where the reckless or ruthless, the helpless are breathless as they cross the wilderness of emptiness and wickedness. Autonomous is the future that guides your thought process, though obstacles are limitless and the reality is ominous. But you grimace at your child and pretend it's all okay, knowing full well the shore is still 20 miles away, but you be brave, walk the waves. It's not like you can run away. And who's going to upstage your attempts to save the day? Because the teenagers among you have a potential you can't delay, and these waterways are either risque or just a passageway where pain sustained becomes a distant memory far away. If only this sea could quench your fire of rage. Well, now it's year 5 and somehow you've survived, and what terrorized your mind didn't cause your demise, and what doesn't kill was a trial that allowed you to thrive and derive a life where enterprise is recognized. But don't be surprised by what hides and connives, because bad advice and ill minds can kill your child with knives, and what was a sense of your paradise becomes the ultimate sacrifice, and you cauterize your bleeding guys with the salt of the sea from which you arrived. And so you tell the following and sing it at your child's eulogy. The Mesopotamian lion guards a bridge from Basra to Birmingham, while the Celtic tiger slaughters evil by the diaphragm. Don't worry, young warrior, your time will soon come, and your enemies to defeat, thou shalt soon succumb. Stand tall and withstand this weary world's exam. Understand, young man, your part in the plan. You are a giant destined to lead these flock of lambs. Mediocrity shall never define your program. And rest in peace to the thousands and thousands and thousands of people who died on their way towards what they thought was safety across the Mediterranean. That's me.
Thanks.
Incredible. Incredible.
Wow. Wow.
I love that piece, bro.
Wow.
That is a good piece.
Speaks volume. Speaks
yeah.
volume.
Thanks, man. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, so we would move to our headliner now. Riwa, she is an amazing poet, and yeah, take it away. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself first before we go to your videos? Yeah.
Yes, for sure. First of all, I want to say thank you guys for sharing your poems. Everyone had such power. This is a quality open mic. Everyone had such powerful poems and such amazing lines. And you know what? I'm going to be looking at the saved live stream afterwards and just revisiting your poems because they were so beautiful. So I feel really happy to be able to listen to everyone. I'm Riwa. I am a poet. I'm also an interdisciplinary artist. I do theater and music as well. I'm currently studying at Guildhall, performance and creative enterprise. I moved to London a couple years ago, where before that I was in Lebanon because I'm Lebanese. And yeah, I'll just be sharing some of my poems with you. And I was thinking maybe I'll do outros instead of intros. And
okay. All right.
a little bit about them afterwards. So my first poem is called Dear Lover.
The sound's not working, is it?
No.
Okay.
I can lip sync.
Give me a second. So if you could just tell us a little bit about the poem first, whilst I try and sort out the sound.
I'll do that. I'll do the intro for this one. So I wrote this poem after watching a documentary. And fun fact about myself is that I'm not generally a movie person, which isn't a good thing. Or maybe it's not a good thing or a bad thing, but it's a thing. But I was watching this documentary and I wasn't hooked at first, but then it caught me when it was about Lebanon. and it was about the day of the disappeared and looking at martyrs that were martyred during the Civil War, and the fact that if they were martyred at the hands of other Lebanese militias, they weren't allowed to be recognized or uncovered, because otherwise it would cause sectarian strife and conflict and friction. So what I found out from watching this documentary is a lot of, I'm spoiling the poem basically right now, but a lot of the mass graves are so inherent and built into the city, Beirut, the capital, where I grew up. And so this poem kind of talks about the ghosts that lurk in the country where we end up building our lives, and a lot of place, and especially looking at it through a lens of intimacy and comparing the notion of the disappeared to long distance relationships. So.
All right, I'll give it a go now. Otherwise, we do have another option if it doesn't work. All right.
Dear former lover, today I found out that our first date was on a burial ground beneath the concrete waterfront, that I passed 2 mass graves between the bar where we first kissed and my house, that the government does not authorize for the bodies of those kidnapped and buried by our own to be found.
All right.
We could hear it.
Could you do one of your live ones quickly, please, whilst I try and sort this out, please?
No, we could hear it.
We had it and then we stopped having it.
Yeah.
Oh, we did?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. We had it and then it went away.
Yeah, the sound started and cut.
It's just more anticipation. It's good. Don't worry.
I could also do that one live.
Yeah, if that's okay.
Do it.
Okay.
Yep. Just do it live.
Okay. You know what I'll do actually? I tried this the other day, and this makes it feel a little bit of like a performance thing. So, ooh, curtain. Okay. Dear former lover, today I found out that I passed 2 mass graves between the bar where we first kissed and my house. That our first date was on top of a burial ground beneath the concrete waterfront. That the government does not authorize for the bodies of those kidnapped and buried by our own to be found, nor for the selling of the martyrs' houses in case they return. Similarly, I have not yet crossed out your name. You drove me through the empty streets of Hamra at times I didn't know the city's heart pulsed. We both jumped at the sound of anyone finding us. We were safe. No one did. Last you spoke to me, I pretended I did not hear. I'd rather not remember something that I cannot have. I now know why our country is clogged, why we are dead and alive simultaneously, and why we suck on memories like lozenges till there are pebbles between our teeth, and why that Luna Park is haunted. Cool, thank you. That's my first one.
Yeah, that was
Pebbles line.
Beautiful.
That Pebbles line was crazy.
It was.
I like the part where you said where we are both alive and dead. That is the fact that, yeah, like you mentioned, the people that have died haven't been recognized, and that keeps them alive. Like you still exist somehow, but you don't exist, showing us humans. But yeah, that was a very good poem. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. This poem was edited down a bit, and I take a lot of it from the actual documentary. And one of the things that they mention is that on family registries, deaths are marked by names crossed out. But what happens if someone is martyred or disappeared, their names aren't crossed out. And so you have people that are eternally alive in a way, but missing, so perpetually missing. And it's a very haunting thing. And yeah, it just made me think about the state of my country, which is currently going through a lot of shit with, sorry for my language, but with the economic crisis and with coronavirus. So yeah, it makes you think, it made me think about the baggage that we hold and how heavy it really is and how it's just so ingrained at this point. So that's my first one. I'm gonna follow that up with another poem about Lebanon. And this one's called Lebanon Before. My service driver shares the car with a girl born at the turn of the century and a bald gray man that witnessed the technicolor vision of Beirut's golden age. They speak of how women dressed wearing skirts and no one turned an eye. How people were brothers and sisters, there was no shame in interaction, no matter religion, and how it's a shame that the kids being shot by reckless bullets fired as celebrations could be their own kids. And I remember my aunt riding a tricycle on the balcony, as my grandpa says, with a bullet through her stomach that ricocheted off the railing, and I yearn for a Lebanon colored in turquoise, emerald, and Tyrian purple. A Lebanon before it turned brown and gray. A Lebanon before it was never rebuilt. A Lebanon before boys turned into mafia men swapping milk bottles for rifles. A Lebanon before I asked my mom whether those were fireworks or bombs. A Lebanon before my parents' eyes were strung to the TV screen, telling me to shush because a politician was just assassinated outside a Luna Park while I am singing and dancing atop my couches because they are the mountains that I climbed before the mountains got torn down to build more oppressive skyscrapers. A Lebanon before we became afraid of Ferris wheel cabins tumbling off and onto the roads. A Lebanon before a play zone became a no-go zone. A Lebanon where people went to the theater. The Piccadilly, where my father hung out before the sign hung off the building like a dislocated shoulder. A Lebanon before they stopped the traffic to let black-tinted cars slither down the streets. We get it. You're important. What are we? What are we? Are we Lebanon? Thank you.
Smashed it again.
Thank you.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. Does anyone have anything to say? Because I'm out of words right here. So,
ooh. Ooh. Ooh.
She flows in the cadence. She flows in the cadence of the piece. That sense of empathy and love is very strong, and she's bringing it out in the eloquence of the poetry very well, exceptionally well.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
That was good. Yeah, you have the stage. You can continue.
I'll go for the next one. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I think we might have sorted out the audio situation now. So fingers crossed.
I can't hear.
You can't hear it?
It's not been sorted for this.
All right. We do have one more thing we can do.
You're really good live, just to say. You're nailing it live.
Yeah, just do it live.
Just
FYI. Yeah, you know, just do it live.
Yeah, the live is. I mean, come on now. It's like you're taking us to Lebanon right now. You're taking us to these places. We're feeling it. It's just it's a vibe.
You're just talking to people's hearts at the moment. Just
it's complete. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. For real though, you guys should come to Lebanon when everything's over.
It just so everyone knows, we're going to put up the recordings the recordings up on Instagram as well. So all is not lost. We still have them.
Okay, cool. So this next one in the video, I experimented a little bit with music because, I was just trying it out at one point, and it's on my Instagram. So yeah, do check it out. But I'll do this one without music this time. You make me feel like a stove. Inside is a birthday cake rising with multicolored sprinkles till my cheeks are coated with caramel icing melting.
You make me feel like hot sand that I have to jump off and off again before I reach the cool waters at the beach. You make me feel like I want to dive into the pool of your eyes or come so close to the flecks there until I can see them close enough, until I'm close enough that my eyes are closed. You make me feel like I want to be stuck in traffic with you. A compass malfunctions because we formed our own center of gravity, an orb of warmth we carry between us, our own North Pole. And we'll lock the doors on the cold. We let that red light glow. Your heartbeat pulses through your fingers into mine, the only telling of time, while miles of metal bubbles line strips of roads, aching muscles in their cars' tires, heated engines rumble, radio waves bathe the moon-black painted roofs. I've turned my person so that I'm front-facing you. I don't think I reached my destination, but I don't need any other directions for the moment. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Mind blowing.
But I have to be honest, I'm fangirling a little bit.
Thank you so much.
I mean, every time I hear someone do a love poem, I'm like, yes, this is what poetry is about. Like, okay, everyone that does every other kind of poetry that's motivational or about social issues, c'est bon. But whenever I think the reason why I always want to hear love poems is because most poets nowadays consciously shy away from it. So you'd come on stage and you say something like, you know, I was in love that time, but you know, I'm good now. But I had this poem I wrote then. And I'm like, really? Why are you giving us some disclaimer for being in love? It's legit to be in love. And yeah, thanks for that poem. It's just
thank
nice
you.
and sweet.
Oh, you know what's really nice about this space is that you get to like chat about all of the poems. I've been really enjoying this about this open mic so far. Get to chat.
Thanks.
I do want to say something about this poem as well. I think since I'm doing my outros. So this poem used to be She Makes Me Feel instead of You Make Me Feel. But when I turned it into a soundtrack and I was going to put it online, I was conscious about not outing myself to friends and family back home because the Middle East isn't very forgiving at the moment about queerness. And what I found out recently is that actually the homophobia and queerphobia wasn't inherent to the region, but it came with Western colonization when it came to this obsession with identity, when before it didn't exist, it was just love. Yeah. And yesterday, Sara Higazi or Hijazi, who's an Egyptian LGBT activist, she raised the rainbow flag in 2017 at a concert in Egypt, and she was sent to prison because of it, and because a lot of trauma that resulted from it. Yesterday, she took her life. And so I've never really mentioned that this poem was initially a queer poem. And at first it's just a love poem, but then it immediately becomes politicized. And I think that's why I kept it as You Make Me Feel at this point, because it is just about love. And there's a question just about politicizing love and how it impacts people. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that to honor Sara. I'm gonna move on to another love poem. Let me just have a sip of water. How's everyone doing? This is the part of the where you say, how's everyone doing?
I think we're all just taking it in right now as well. You've just smashed it.
You're sipping your water and we're thirsty for more, so please.
Oh, bars.
Loud.
Can't help it.
Okay. Here we go. We turn a wall into a mattress and call the building's shadow privacy. It feels like a poem in a language that we don't speak, as we teach each other our tongues. Sonnets and ghazals sitting across our lips. A group of loud voices across the street from us sound as though they belong to a football stadium. And I remember articles about pennies thrown in the night bus, which is weird to me because all the pennies I've ever thrown were wishes. So we sit at a bus stop waiting for an Uber. In our heads, we're writing poems in languages we don't speak. I taste all I have to say on a patient heat before putting it in a box on Google Translate. I know you're looking at me, my small talk in the taxi brisk. Maybe knowing what I say anyways as I translate vulnerable and loud and years. I'll try to find a metaphor for skin. To eternalize 2 or 3 a.m. on my couch, the cushions shooting out from under us, melting into each other. Our thighs the shape of those spiritual symbols that speak of balance. Hours pass in our sleep, doing the work of language for us. We wake up groggy and bright. I learn about universal and about universe. Thank you. Cool. So I have another backup for this next one.
What? Where is this?
This is. Yeah, you know what? Let's just continue live. You're smashing. You know what? I'm gonna stop talking.
The Syrian in Iran, right?
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Oh, geography boy, I'm good.
So I got clips. None of these clips are my own, I have to say, disclaimer. But I got these clips of Mesopotamia and Persia.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. Okay. The spots where we built our sandcastles have long been swallowed by the shore. We were engineers and rulers, patting down those mud walls, carving rivers, calling for backup when the sea's waves only whispered on our frontiers and they'd crumble. There was always one of us that would get impatient and bash a significant part of our construction until the whole thing collapsed. Remorse lasted 2 waves washing over the coast until we'd bury someone under the sand and they were but ahead, looking out onto the horizon across which might be a couple, asking an oppressive sun to paint them gold, or a child playing tag with the tide, her palms the size of rain in a city riddled with sandcastles. Thank you.
I love the shout out to Mesopotamia.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that was a city riddled with sandcastles.
Your words.
Thank you for that.
Sorry?
Yeah.
Your words genuinely are beautiful.
Thank you so much.
And like even watching your sort of the visuals in the backgrounds, like usually you have soundtracks to movies. Like, no, it's very much just the movie to the soundtrack because you're insane.
Oh, I like that. Thank you.
Still fangirling.
Equally, I have to say I was fangirling over all of you guys.
Yeah. You have one more poem, right?
I do have one more. Is that all right?
Yes, let's do this.
Please and thank you.
All right. I'll just back up a little bit. A Bruno Mars song gets stuck in my head. I can't remember the lyrics, so I rewrite my own and life continues. I bump into a friend accidentally on Shoreditch High Street. We speak for 5 minutes, then he says he's off to reconnect with his friends from Dubai. We break apart, life continues. I have a fallout with a friend. We hurl bricks at each other, hiding behind concrete, teeth and tongues. Words scratch our skin. We stitch it up with a bit of space. Life continues. Does he still blame you? I ask her. Her eyes turn into foggy glass. I backtrack, question whether I spat poison. She says she just wants to be happy. Life continues. I'm bawling to my best friend in the backseat of an Uber. I always cry when I can't explain how I'm feeling. 2 days later, I'll take it back and have a laugh because no, never mind. It's probably not that serious anyways. Life continues. I see a woman on the tube with a single teardrop crawling down her cheek. She rolls her eyes up to collect the tears in the buckets of her lower eyelids. I want to tell her sorry. I want to tell her I hope everything will be okay. She exits the train into a pool of bodies. Life continues. I remember a child aged 9 crouched on the carpet as though in prayer. Hands hugging face, torso shakes. She runs to the bathroom to cry. A song reminded her of her father, lost in Aleppo. Still, life continues. I watch a video of a home being stripped away. A family is torn by a police force takeover. I imagine walls marked with measured height being painted over. Life continues. I see photos of skeletons and ribs in diapers where they should be smothered in fatty love. Brown skin stretched thin over elbows and shoulder bones, gaping mouths grasp for breath. I shut the laptop screen. Thank you.
Amazing, amazing. Incredible. Absolutely mind-blowing.
I might want to talk about that one a little bit.
Yep.
Just the end. I'll let that sit how it is because I kind of wanted it to sit as a question. The poem is a question that I have. But I think the last 2 stanzas, the penultimate stanza is specifically about Palestine. And they've announced that the West Bank is going to be annexed. So I just want to pay attention to Palestine. And this ultimate stanza is about Yemen, which for years on has been one of the worst humanitarian crises. And yeah, it's just a question about apathy and what we can do about the people that we share this reality with.
I mean, it's apathy within the Arab world, even more so than the rest of the world, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, especially when issues are so confusing and fragmented. It's hard to pin down, but I guess my question is, what do we share? And what this poem tries to do is, we all know the feeling of grief, and grief comes in many different forms, but how do we just extend ourselves to others when there are the complications that make apathy a thing?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, thanks for that.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It was amazing. I mean, it was wonderful having you. Yeah, it's been amazing having you. We're definitely going to chat a lot more. Your poetry has a lot in it. And it's just like everyone just brought something really poignant to the whole situation today, from talking about human rights to the Black Lives Matter movement to just having queens. And when people what's her name, Corinne was reading her poem, it was, even though it was for queens, I could still relate to it. And then your poem, and then just everybody from Madalena to Amy and Lantern Carrier and Rohan and Richard. There's just so much going on today. So thank you all, and thank you, Riwa, for joining us. We'll end the live stream in a moment, and then we would just, do our hangout without all the live stream people looking at us. Because
Akor, just before we go.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it, soft spoken.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Guys, thank you.
To bring your own powers as a platform. You guys.
And thanks again to the people who are helping to fund it.
Yes.
Go.
Amy took the words out of my mouth. So Akor, who is funding us?
So Brent 2020 is Borough of Culture is funding BYOB, and they've done this for the last couple of months. I mean, the initial plan was to have it done live, but then the planet turned out to be what it is right now, and they decided to continue to do it. And it's been so nice to have their support and them just encouraging a lot of creativity in this side of Northwest London, and just to spread it out to the world. Because initially this celebration and everything was just going to be in the borough, but now it's international because we have people from Russia, we have people from America, and just all over we have people from Slough.
Slough.
You only say that because it's close to Heathrow, man. People normally pop through Slough to go to Oxford.
I was in Slough today, funnily enough.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Oh wow.
You get a petrol.
I mean, that's on the way to Newbury.
Petrol.
Wait, I got to round up. And so, yeah, we thank Brent 2020 for the support. And however, this is going to continue even post the period we're in. We know they've made such a great impact in the lives of poets and all the people who have listened to the poems and all. So, yeah, shout out to them also. And yeah, that'll be all from me and us.